last tour of the captain's quarters. It is an 18 long by 10-inch deep diorama. I had so much fun making this diorama. It was made for my dad, who is really into sailing ships and treasure pirate booty, and so I thought what better way to be able to create something that he can have lit up at night. I will be inserting some footage throughout the video of me making this. I didn't film every step along the way. Filming something like this takes lots and lots of time. So I did get some footage of putting it together, and I'll talk a little bit about the construction and what I used, materials I used to put this all together. So without further ado, welcome to the captain's quarters. So if you're new to diorama making, the first thing you need to do is decide what kind of diorama you want to make, which is really fun because you can go off of something you're making for someone else and maybe their favorites, or you can pick your favorite book or favorite movie. This one is based off of just the love of sailing ships and all things pirate and all things exploration. It was actually made with in mind for my father, who loves sailing ships and has built the coolest Minecraft sailing ship I've ever seen. So I thought I would give this a go and make something neat that he could have lit up at night. The first thing that I did was the windows here in the back. I tried to get the windows at a slight angle so it looked more like maybe what a real sailing ship would have in it. The very back of the diorama, the back poster board wall, has a horizon line, which is just a darker blue and then a light blue, nothing fancy. Also, when I inserted the lights, I made sure that I put some lights up on the outside of the window, so it almost looked like maybe moonlight was coming through, or maybe some hanging lanterns that they had hanging on the ship. The next thing that I created was the captain's bed. This was probably the most challenging part, but really, really fun. All I used here was just some scrap fabric, some trim that I got from the craft store, and some of the trim I had already laying around. Any project I do, I try to use what I already have. That's kind of the challenge for me. And then I had some of this mirror that I also used. I gave the captain a giant mirror, which helped reflected the lights that are up above his bed. And then you can see a little tiny round mirror right there. But this was really fun putting this together and just using the fabrics that I had, creating a pillow and a mattress and some little covers with a sheet, and then tucked away there you can see that the captain has a little book that he might be reading. It's neat because in this project I learned a lot about sailing ships and why they did certain things. So these curtains that you have here were actually in place. They might be a little fancier than you would see in a sailing ship, but that's the fun with any project, is you can make it as whimsical or come up with, you know, ideas of what you think the ship would have looked like. And these curtains were actually used to be closed because depending on where they were sailing on the seas, if they didn't have a heater, even if they did, a ship was a pretty drafty place. It was wet, windy, depending on what the weather was like, the ship was all over the place. And so these curtains would be closed to keep in the captain's own body heat and to try to just keep him warm. And then before I got too far into the diorama, I decided where I wanted my candles to be, or my light, because that's really important when you're putting in your twinkle lights and how you want them placed, and how they're all going to work out when you put it all together and finish it so it looks nice. So you can see here that I have 2 candles on the back wall. I also have 3 candles sitting on the captain's desk, and then a couple of candles up there on the top by his portrait. This was really fun to be able to decide where I wanted to put those, and I also put that you can't see some lights up here inside above the captain's bed, just to create a little bit of lighting so that you could see his pillow and his sheets. With a separate set of lights, I put in this lantern here. And the reason I did the lantern is because when the light is off, you really want to be able to see the glow of his treasure. You know, his treasure, his liqueur that he's bringing, also his swords are there in the background. And it just creates a really nice kind of background for this chess set when you're looking at it straight on. The captain's desk was also very fun to do. I did research on what a captain's desk would look like. Most of the pictures that I found, the captain's desk is actually in the middle of the room, facing away from the window. But I liked the idea of a captain's quarters being a little bit more cramped. You know, the captain would have a comfortable chair that he'd want to sit in, but having a little desk where he'd keep a map and maybe some other tools that he would be using when he's sailing. So here you can see on his desk, he's got some books, he's got some navigation tools, he's even got a bottle of some kind of alcohol, which I thought would be a fun touch. There's a lot of alcohol in this in this sailing ship. It's got to last him months and months. And then you can see that I have the bookshelf there on the back. The bookshelf is just made from books that I bought on Etsy. There's just a printout of the outside cover of the books, and you just print it out on your own printer. And then I just use poster board with glue on the inside to make these cute little books. I have a video that I will link below of how you can make these books. It's a whole separate tutorial on just bookmaking. And then I also used some little trinkets from my jewelry stash and some Gorilla Glue, and just made what would be maybe some vases or just little knickety-knack things. And then all that you see here in the middle of the captain's quarters is just an assortment of things that you would find. Maybe the alcohol was kept, his own private stash in his quarters. And then he's got a barrel full of maps, his swords for weaponry, and then the treasure. The treasure was really a fun treat to make. I enjoyed making the treasure because I had to use a variety of clay. I also found some little gold sparkly balls at the dollar store. And then I had some Swarovski crystals just from my jewelry stash that I use for some of the jewelry. The lantern and creating the lantern to come up, the way the construction works is I've got this chest here, but there's a hole where all the lighting comes up, and then creating that lantern. That was a little bit of a hard thing to do, but all in all I think it turned out really well, and it gives off that nice glow. And then since my dad loves chess, I was thinking that chess would be a really fun thing to have in the captain's quarters. Maybe him and the first mate, or someone else that has an interest, maybe the doctor, somebody that likes chess could jump in with him and play a game. And I almost thought about calling this diorama the first move, because you can see there's only a pawn that's been moved. So there's one move that's been made, it looks like by the captain. But he's got a comfy chair, and he's got a little bit of a footstool. And then this is a little ode to Ireland, and I don't know if my dad will catch this. He's gonna get this diorama before the video probably comes out, hopefully. But it's a little ode to a company called Harland and Wolff, which started in Ireland. It's a ship sailing port, and I don't know if he'll really catch it. It's even got the year established, 1861, of when Harland and Wolff, or H&W, started. And I believe they're the same port that built the Titanic and many other ships. So I just thought that would be a fun little historical aspect to put in here. So as far as finishing the diorama, you can really have fun with this and finish it however you'd like. On the sides, I thought maybe that would show up on a bookshelf, so I did almost like a wood grainy pattern on the craft foam, on the 2mm craft foam. And I didn't get too crazy with the outside as far as like making it decorative or really fancy, because I think he's probably going to put it on a shelf, and he might have things, you know, the shelf will probably come to about the top of the battery box here. And then on the sides, and nobody's going to see the bottom, so I didn't even paint the bottom. But if you're making this to sell, there might be, you know, you'd really want to put a lot more effort into the outside. But since this is a gift, I just made it look really nice and well put together, and built it really strong with hot glue. I didn't use any contact cement in this project, but you could do that for you know, the construction of the walls and putting the exterior on. I'm going to show you guys real quick the back. I've got it placed up here on my tissue box. So again, the back, it's nothing fancy, but this is where the battery boxes come out. So these are just 2 battery boxes, or 2 twinkle light sets that I got. I just got them at Walmart in the holiday section, and I stocked up on that before they all disappeared. But anyways, they go on off, steady, flashing, and then like a fade in and out. The fade in and out is really nice for the candles, and then the lantern, I just leave that on steady. But I just created this little box here that they could set in, and then when I ship it, I can stuff this with tissue paper, or maybe even put a piece of masking tape over the back until it gets there. But this is just a nice way to store your batteries. I like these specific battery boxes, if you can find them like this, because they have a timer. So they're on for 6 hours, and then they're off for 18, and then the same time of day, the next day they'll come on. So yeah, so that is the captain's quarters. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that I see you again for the next one.